On this episode of the Turnbuckle, Arn Anderson will retire after his AEW contract expires. Damian Priest believes that Judgment Day don't need titles to stay relevant in WWE, and Roman Reigns could potentially refuse to work with Bray Wyatt. Folks, we're hitting your favorite wrestling movement and some wrestling news because it's time for the Turnbuckle. On the newest episode of the Arn podcast, Anderson revealed that he plans to retire when his AEW contract runs out in the next 18 months. He talked about his son Brock not getting enough reps on TV. I'm hanging on to the idea that Brock just hasn't had his second chance yet because of the rotation, Anderson said. I'm sure it's nothing that he's done negatively. With AEW, I'm still under contract for about a year and a half. Brock about 6 months. We just don't have enough segments of television to get everybody on there every week. I'm sure Tony struggles with it, trying to get everybody on there and get everybody rotated, but we're just hanging on. We don't want to do anything else. He's still going to the gym a couple days a week where he's trained, Lodi's gym here in Charlotte. We're still getting in the ring a couple days. We just haven't been on TV. We've been gone, I don't know if you all noticed, for the entire summer. We haven't been on TV probably since May. I know it seems long for us. I don't know if it seems long for anybody else, but we've been doing some independent stuff, a few independent bookings here and there. I like that he mentioned that he knows that it's not anything that Brock is specifically doing himself. He knows that it's just not in rotation right now. It's like when you upload a YouTube video. I know, but like, hear me out, okay? Come with me, play in this space with me, right? It's like when you upload a YouTube video and you're kind of like, you're just sort of waiting on the YouTube gods to just sort of be like, you know, and you'll be like, oh, thank you very much. Oh, my liege, you know what I'm saying? It's one of those. I don't think he wants Brock to have like this world title around his waist. I think he just wants to know that like before he goes out, Brock is at least being considered for a program, or he's in a program at some point. And I think that Tony Khan probably has it somewhere in the books. I don't think Tony is kind of looking at him and be like, no, you know, I don't see it in him. Sorry. You know what I mean? I think that Tony is you know, he's got a bunch of stuff going on at the moment, and Brock is, you know, unfortunately just in the back as of right now, but, you know, it just is what it is. It's not really anything that he can do at the moment. He's still working. He's doing independent shows. He's not, like, just sitting in the back, you know what I mean? And that's what I love about AEW. This isn't in the realm of WWE like it used to be, where wrestlers kind of just had no choice but to sit there. They weren't really doing anything else, so they just, like, made a YouTube channel to pass the time, you know what I mean? No offense, you're right? But, like, now they can actually go out there and they can like wrestle and stuff. They can, you know, stay fresh and everything like that. And if something actually does come up, then they can actually come back and be like, all right, what have you got for me, you know? So I mean, only time will tell what type of program Brock is gonna be in, right? And I mean, listen, Arn Anderson has definitely been around the block a few times. He's an absolute legend in the wrestling business, okay? And I mean, hate to see him go, but I mean, I feel like it's time, you know? So next, we're gonna be talking about Damian Priest and how he believes Judgment Day doesn't need titles to stay relevant in WWE. During a recent interview with the archive of B-Sox, Damian Priest talked about whether the Judgment Day intended on winning championships in WWE. According to Priest, the group doesn't need titles to stay relevant in the promotion. How do you become a focal point of the show not being a champion? That makes you just that much more valuable, and I think that's where we're at right now. Let's make this show revolve around us. Let's be the main thing on this show without even having championships. I mean, there's a bunch of different wrestlers, right, that didn't necessarily, A, didn't win world titles, and B, didn't win any titles, to be honest with you, and we're still over, you know? Guys like Razor Ramon, Mr. Perfect, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, you know what I mean? There's a bunch of different wrestlers out there that like didn't really need to win the big one just to be over. Like they were already over just by their personality alone. And I feel like Judgment Day is a perfect example of that, right? Where they can get the heat from the crowd and they can be in a bunch of different programs with like a bunch of different people. They can do it individually like Finn Balor did with AJ Styles. They can do it with a big group, you know, with the OC and Mia Yim. Like they're very, very versatile, and they can really like dip their toes into like a lot of different things. And yeah, he's right. I mean, they don't necessarily need titles. It's the same thing that we were talking about with Bray Wyatt like a long time ago, in the sense of Bray Wyatt doesn't really need a world title to be over. He's already like stupid over, you know? So like putting a world title on him, great, sure, but it's not really like necessary. Like he can still like carry his character and be in a bunch of different interesting programs with people, and the world title doesn't necessarily need to be there. Finally, we're going to be talking about Roman Reigns and how he could refuse to work with Bray Wyatt. Well, speaking of Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer talked about Bray Wyatt's potential feuds in the future, including doing with Roman Reigns. Meltzer made it clear Reigns might not even want to work with the Eater of Worlds. Everybody who works with Bray Wyatt, very few of them come out looking better. Do they go with him and Roman? I could see Roman wanting nothing to do with this guy. If it's not being built for Roman, then he's got a limit to how far he can go if Roman doesn't agree to work with him. Obviously, Roman's in a completely different place right now with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. I understand, right, if you're Roman Reigns and you kind of don't want to work with somebody who's currently just the hottest thing in wrestling right now, literally right next to you. So it makes sense, right, because he doesn't want to lose, right? I mean, that's pretty simple. LA Knight's kind of getting the short end of the stick right now, because, I mean, there's not really much that he can, like, do at this point, because Bray Wyatt definitely just came back, and, I mean, somebody's got to do it, right? Somebody's got to bite the bullet. It can't just be Bray Wyatt running around attacking, like, staff members and stuff. Like, somebody has to wrestle this guy at some point, you know what I mean? And we just got the reveal of Uncle Howdy. I feel like if he were to lose this, it would kind of just take the wind out of his sails. Not a lot, because I feel like that's how over he is. I feel like one loss wouldn't really, like, ruin it, but it obviously would start him off on the back foot. So you kind of want Bray Wyatt to sort of, like, you know, be as over as he can at this moment in time. And I understand where Roman is coming from, right? Like, you don't want to, like, be involved in that right now, you know? So just sort of let Bray do his thing, and maybe, like, let him get, like, all loss under his belt, so that, you know, the next time he goes up against somebody and he probably potentially loses again, it's not going to be, like, that much of a disadvantage for him. So hopefully down the line, you know, we'll see something with them, but for right now, it just isn't in the cards, and, you know, we're just going to have to accept that. What do we talk about? Arn Anderson is going to retire in the next 18 months after his contract expires. And I understand that he wants Brock to be in a program and everything, right? I get that. But he also mentioned how it wasn't in the rotation. So he understands, right, like I said, that it just right now isn't in the cards for Brock, and that's not really anything that he can really do, you know. But like I said, he wants to, at least by the time that he goes out, right, he wants Brock to at least be considered for a program, or he wants him to be, like, in a program, you know, around that time. And I understand. So we're just going to have to wait and see what Brock is going to be involved with. Damian Priest believes that the Judgment Day don't need titles to get over. They don't. They're a perfectly capable team. They could have titles if they really wanted to, but it's not something that they need, and they could be in a bunch of different programs. Like I said, they have Rhea Ripley in there, so they don't necessarily need to keep running around with the strictly male programs, right? They can do a female program if they really wanted to, and everybody's got, like, their own personality and everything, and it's making them very versatile, and they're already over, really, you know? So sticking a title on them isn't really going to change a whole lot. It could make them better, but it doesn't have to. And Roman Reigns could potentially refuse to work with Bray Wyatt. That makes sense. Bray Wyatt is over like Rover, and, you know, it's one of those things where you don't want either of them to lose, right? So I understand that Roman Reigns is like, you know what, I'm just going to leave him to his own devices for right now, and eventually down the line, sure, I'd love to work with him, but right now I don't want to lose, and neither does Bray. That's going to do it for this episode, folks. I really hope you guys enjoyed this episode, because I certainly enjoyed making it. Wow, and if you want to catch more content like this, be sure to like the video and subscribe, and I'll definitely catch you guys in the next one.